Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's that time of year again when we need to get the DewEze mounted on the back of the pickup, and usually I do this in the middle of November, but the Bale loader needed some repairs and we were hooking on to trailers with the Ford here quite a bit, so having the Bale loader on would have made that a little difficult, you know. So this DewEze, for those of you that are interested, is a model 265, and I believe, let me make sure. It's hard to read. Somewhere in there it says 265. The serial number is BP0740. Now, I don't know if DewEze did their serial numbers in order. Some places like to not do that. They do it in like a series, you know. But going to the DewEze website, doing a little research on these, because I've been trying to do this video for, 4 months. What I've learned is that DewEze started making hay equipment back in the late 60s to early 70s, and they started manufacturing bolt-on pickup bed bale loaders for round bales in the early to mid 70s. So since this is a first model, and I assume it's within the first 1,000 units that they produced, I don't know exactly what year it is, but it's fairly old. And it's moved a lot of hay over the years. It is rated, I don't even know if I can read this here or show you. It's rated for 1,800 pounds, but it will pick up more than that. It doesn't like to, and it probably shouldn't, but it will, because most people bale, 5 foot, 5.5 foot bales, anywhere from 1,000 to maybe 1,600 pounds, right? Well, when Grandpa was still baling, he usually was pretty good about making a nice, tight, uniform bale. But sometimes he got way ahead of himself and he made 6-foot bales that were 2,100 pounds. And this bale loader did pick them up. It did not like it, but it did pick them up. And so did that little 743 Bobcat. That poor thing's pretty tough too, come to think of it. But back to the point. I know what this will pick up. I know what it won't. And it's special. It's been repaired more than once. It's probably going to need some more welding here before long, but it's okay. The bales we've been getting they're not very heavy. They're not very uniform in terms of structure either. The quality's fine, but they're not very round, which usually is because people use a John Deere baler, and I'm sorry, John Deere balers are not good. New Holland is where it's at, but even the best baler in the world does not make up for an operator that either doesn't care or flat sucks. So yeah, I like bales that are round. And the reason I mention this is because if I had an actual round bale that I was picking up, which ever since I set everything up here, I haven't, but I used to have to take my toolbox off to mount this. And so I modified things here to where I could slide the bale loader underneath, bolt it down, and have my toolbox on, because I carry around way too much stuff to not have the toolbox. And if I had bales that were actually round, I had calculated that I could have like a 5.5 foot bale here, and I would still have a couple inches of clearance so that I didn't smash it into my toolbox the entire time. Well, the minute I set all that up, all the bales I've hauled since then with this are crooked as a dog's hind leg. They are incredibly loose, and they freaking suck. So I pick them up, and I think I've got them centered, and they're flat on one side, so then they spin in the air, and then when it lands, the first thing it does is smash the toolbox forward into the headache rack. So that's why I only use grade 2 bolts, because if there's going to be any give, it should be in the bolts. It kind of irritated me, but whatever. That's the way it is. We don't do our own baling, so probably shouldn't throw a fit. And usually we don't need that much hay because the cows will go eat on the rye, and which they're doing now, which is nice. So anyway, as to repairs, I power washed this yesterday, and I'm draining all the old fluid out. I thought it would be worse than it was, but it's actually not too bad. I'm going to replace it with some nicer fluid, though. We got the good green stuff, the Quick Lift from the co-op. That is the nice hydraulic fluid. That's what this thing's going to get. And I also have new hoses. I made some new hoses yesterday for it. And we sent the main cylinder off to be resealed, which was the number one reason we took this thing down, because it was leaking. So there's a lip seal right here or a wiper seal, whatever you want to call it. Well, that was gone. And then there was also, there's a cap. This cap here has an O-ring inside of it that also seals this ram, and that was leaking as well. So it wasn't horrible. You could still use it, but I got tired of having hydraulic fluid all over the bed of my pickup. I mean, it's rust-proofing, sure, but you know, it kind of gets irritating to set your tools out on the back and you set them all in hydraulic fluid, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. So this is all ready to go. Special thank you to Midwest Hydraulic and Kinsley for resealing that for us and getting everything taken care of. Now, the other thing is kind of a minor issue, is the rollers that run here in this channel right here. The old bushings were getting really loose, and the rollers are not in the best shape, but this thing does not move fast enough. If it took, I'm going to say at least 40 years. If it took 40 years to wear down the rollers to this point, this thing will run forever, and it's just not a big deal. But the bushings being loose on the pin, I did not like, and I wanted to fix that. So rather than call DewEze and see if they have the parts, because DewEze is kind of expensive, and, well, I'm a poor farmer. We're not going to do that. That's stupid. I made bushings, and it's a lot less elaborate than it sounds. Let me go find the old bushing. So this is an inch pin, and it's hardened, and it's got a hole drilled in it for a roll pin to go through and hold it in place so it doesn't drift all the time. So this is one of the old bushings. There's the other old bushing. Okay, so that's what was left of them. Not much, as you can tell. The pin was loose on these real bad, and well, there just wasn't much left. So originally what I was going to do was buy a bar of nylon and drill it out to the right side, get the right outside diameter, and then drill it to the right size. And then I thought, you know, that's really expensive because I don't really want to do that. And so then we have a whole bunch of these old sprayer fittings. And I thought, oh, I'll cut one of them off, and because the inside of this is a perfect fit for that pin, but the outside needs to be machined down. And we don't really have a lathe yet. So I was going to sand it with emery cloth. And after about 5 minutes of that, I thought, this is stupid. I wonder if there's something else around here I can use besides sprayer fittings. PVC, same problem. The outside's too big, needs to be machined down, and this is too hard. PVC is not the right material. So what I ended up finding, and yes, I used a chop saw to cut it, was this old poly water pipe that we had on, well, it came off of that. This is why it's screwed up on that one end, because, you know. And I thought it had the right diameter to fit on the inside of the roller, and it had the right diameter for the pin to fit in, and it's still a little loose, but it's light years ahead of these old bushings. And so I thought, well, hell, that'll work just fine. And sure enough, it did. Cut them to length, put them in. I mean, like I said, they are a little loose, but they're better than what these were. So, I mean, yeah, all the way through. And because the pin had lathed these rollers down out here, that means I don't have to worry about the bushing trying to drift out that way. And so now I can just slide them on like so. And there we go. Now that's all fixed. The pin is a little worn and it is bent, but that's okay because the pin doesn't move. The rollers are what move. And that's fixed, thankfully. I didn't really want to put the old bushings back in. I planned to, because I didn't think sanding down those pipe fittings was a good idea. It was going to take me all day to get nowhere, and I would have gone through a whole roll of emery cloth. So with all this being done, hoses made, hydraulic fluid drained, all that cleaned. That's pretty much it, actually. That's really all that was wrong with this. Usually we have to put a solenoid on it every year, but I fixed the wiring a couple seasons ago because that's usually why we have to keep putting solenoids on, because stuff grounds out and it doesn't want to work. So I have all the wiring done and fixed. It has been curled up on top of the fuel tank, waiting for the Bale loader to come back on. So that's the control cord inside of the wire loom. And then the power cord, I've got this set up because you can't leave it plugged in or it'll drain the battery. So I've got the power cord set up to where you just hook it on to the positive terminal when you need it, and you take it off when you're done. And switching over to these marine style fittings was a good idea anyway. I have not had near the battery problems since I did that. But there used to be a wing nut here. I lost it. And then oddly enough, I found it again. But I prefer the regular nut anyway because it's just a 3/8 nut. So just have a wrench ready. And when it's time, we hook it up. When we're done, we unhook it because you can't leave it hooked in all the time. Also because the control, well, basically the controller for the Bale loader, it likes to get warm. And at first I thought that was kind of nice because when it's really cold outside and your fingers are cold, it's nice to grab the warm Bale controller. But it won't stop getting hot. And so we might look at that, but we're probably not going to. I mean, what is electrical shorts? You don't need to worry about those. They're fine. So yeah, everything's set up to be as efficient as possible, which is kind of an oxymoron because we're using a bolt-on Bale loader instead of getting a Bale bed. No, I won't talk about that now. We'll save that for a later video. But nope, everything's pretty much ready. Just thought I would start this while I'm waiting on the reservoir to drain here, and it's almost done, I think. Yeah, it's pretty well done. The first step is to get the main cylinder back in, which is kind of a pain just because all this is awkward and heavy. So there's a couple ways I could do this, but I think the easiest way to do it is to just grab the whole thing and bring it in right from the back and have the rollers on and probably drop everything on the ground and all that. And because I'm really stupid, I'll probably tap this retaining pin back in place. Or was it in place? I might leave it. Maybe I should just leave it. I don't like roll pins. How did I get it out? I don't remember. Alright, hopefully that doesn't drop down and hit me in the head. I'm not going to put that winch pin in just yet because I still have to hook the hoses up and I may want to pull that back out to maneuver this, but that went easier than I expected. It's probably a bad sign, isn't it? So for the hoses, I'm not completely stupid, contrary to popular belief. I did take a picture of what everything looked like when it was hooked up. Now, I don't remember which hose went through which hole here on the bottom. I probably had to hammer that back in, and I just took the hammer off my loop. That was dumb. Anyway, I remember what hose went where. I marked everything here. So we should be able to hook stuff back up correctly. And, I mean, we'll find out pretty quick if I didn't. I am definitely going to want to take that cylinder loose, aren't I, to hook everything up. So, I don't know if the new hoses will fit through these holes, but that's why we have step bits. I'm not afraid to drill that out. Here are the new hoses I made yesterday. The wing hoses are the same length. The cylinder hoses obviously are not, and they can be longer, but they can't be shorter. So these, in theory, are just a little bit longer than what I took off. And these hoses, they did not leak, and I'm pretty sure the only reason they didn't leak is because this is a low-pressure application. If you went and put any of these old hoses on something real, they'd probably explode. But we're going to keep them anyway, because the first thing I'm going to do, I can almost guarantee it, is I'm somehow going to get one of these hoses hooked on something and rip it clean off. So we're not throwing this stuff away just yet. We'll hang on to it for the next 3 years and then throw it away like normal people. So 3/8 hose, brand new fittings. All the fittings should be the same. If they're not, this is going to be really embarrassing, but you probably won't see it, maybe. So anyway, I'll tape the ends and we'll get everything shoved through and hooked up. Naturally, of course, we got to get a step bit, and thankfully, I remembered we have these. I love these step bits. They're really nice, but they don't always last too long. Oh. Is that big enough yet? Oh, no, not quite. We're getting there. Oh, the bit fell on the ground. That's bad. Well, that's not even tearing the bit up that bad. All right, I'll take that. Well, that's cracked right there. It'll be fine. Oh. Oh. All right. Problem solved. Just as a quick aside, I know a lot of people are probably going to laugh because we use Ryobi power tools. And yeah, I get they're probably not as tough as your DeWalt or your Milwaukee. You know, they're not an industrial power tool by any means, but quite honestly, for as much as you pay for them, they're pretty tough. And this is an older screw gun, and we just wore out a hammer drill the other day. I mean, it just shot. The chuck was bad, and we had another one like it, and I tried to replace the chuck, and that's not even worth it. The poor thing was just sacked out. It wouldn't hold anything. You could tell it wasn't as good on power. It made noises it probably shouldn't have. It got hot a lot faster than it used to, but it did a lot of work. So now we're left with this one, and we need to get more, but we don't have any right now, so we use this. All right, a little bit later, we have everything hooked up. I even went and splurged on thread tape. I don't know that it needs it, but just to be safe, it's a low pressure system. It shouldn't need it. It wasn't leaking at those spaces before. I mean, I didn't put any back here just because those are, well, if they leak there, that's not really the threads, that's more the fitting itself. And I don't really want to replace those. So, yep, got everything set up there. We're good there. Everything's tightened down and good here and everywhere. So the next step, I'm going to get the cords shoved back through my gooseneck hitch cover, because when I get the Bale loader mounted, it covers that flap just enough you can't really get it open. So I'll get all the cords through. I'll find the bolts that I'm supposed to use to mount this. They're somewhere. And we'll get everything set up, mounted, and then we'll come back and hook it all up. Bale loader successfully mounted, and I spent too much time trying to get extra slack in my power cord, only to realize nothing was lining up because I had not shoved the Bale loader forward to mount it all the way. So, you know, big brain around here. So the final step, well, okay, it's not the final step, that's a lie. The next step is to get all this hooked up, and there's of course 4 wires that go here. There's 2 wires, 3. There's 3 wires that go over to that solenoid. And why are there 2 green? Oh no, this is the same wire. Okay, before I get any more confused, it is necessary to come to the big book of print-offs and other crap, because I keep track of all this stuff. I write all sorts of stuff down. I print all sorts of stuff off. Oh, look at that. Spark plug removal instructions for a 543 valve. Yeah, that doesn't work. Ask me how I know. It's for the 800. That's for the combine. That's for that piece of crap. That's for the 875. That's for the other thing. All right. Yeah, we also have a dump trailer that has the same setup. So this is for the plug-in for the control cord. Oh, look at that. I labeled it. Look at how smart I am. And I know my handwriting's not the best. That's trailer. This is the Bale loader. Okay. So green, red, blue, yellow. And then we have the solenoid. And I made it so simple that a moron could understand it, because when I wrote all this down, I was like, oh yeah, I remember how all this goes. I don't need the paper. But then, you know, a year later, when I go to hook all this back up, I always forget, which is why I write it down. What else do I have back in here? Oh! That's where that went. Yeah, I was looking for that the other day. Okay, I put a lot of work into figuring that out, you know. Show how smart I am. That's actually one of my more popular videos, too. So anyway, now that we have the key and we know where everything goes, we just go hook it up. And then we add fluid. And I'm not showing stuff like, you know, me tightening bolts or hoses or putting wires on. I'm not showing any of that because it's boring, and I'm pretty sure most of you know how to tighten bolts and plug wires in and stuff like that. And we'll go ahead and see if this electrical cleaner is any good still. I usually... Gosh, this stuff sucks. And I continue to use it. So, while we're waiting on that to dry, I will mention one more thing. The biggest problem we've always had with this Bale loader is in the electrical. Trying to get stuff to work right. Usually, the problem is in the control cord, because it's supposed to be like a trailer cord, right? For your lights and stuff. But it's... Anyway, you get what I mean. The point is that where you would normally plug in your control cords, like it's got an end, you know, male and female, like, you know, you would on a trailer. You plug all that in, that's usually where we have the problems. Because stuff gets loose, because it's you're supposed to twist the wire around and shove it in there and then tighten the little screw down and hold it. That system sucks. And it always caused issues. So because I got tired of messing with that every year, and it was always when it got really, really cold and windy when we had to come mess with this, I decided, you know what, I'm going to make it all one cord. So this is continuous. This is hard. This is all one wire. There's a splice in it, like crimp splices with shrink wrap. And it runs all the way from back here down underneath the pickup. Kind of see it in there where it runs into the cab. You might kind of be able to see it back there. And then it comes in through the back seat and underneath through the floor to the control cable. So it's always plugged in. And the power cord was a similar story. I got tired of trying to plug the freaking thing in and it wouldn't work. So I finally plugged it in, got it all cleaned up, plugged it in, and just taped it up really, really good where water could not get in there. And I haven't had a problem since. And I also have not been burning out solenoids. Now I have a spare one on hand at all times, just because, and that solenoid might, you know, burn out here in 5 minutes, but I always keep one on hand. And I've never had a problem with it otherwise. Of course, if it runs low on fluid, it doesn't like that. But now that it doesn't leak, and we're going to put the high dollar fluid in it, it should be fine. So I will get all of it. Well, okay, that probably needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I'll clean all this up, plug it in, then we'll add some fluid. Quite a bit later now. One of the reasons that projects take so long is because when I do something like this, I always look at little things and I think, oh, you know, I bet I can improve that. I bet I can make that better. So I spent the better part of the past, I don't know, hour, basically getting all these 3 wires that go over to the solenoid hooked up and oriented and set up how I want. And that just took some time for a variety of reasons that I won't go into because, well, you know, time. But this is all hooked up and ready, or it should be. We'll find out pretty quick if I hook the solenoid up backwards. Lines are tight everywhere. We fill this full of fluid. We are using the high dollar, super fancy Quick Lift, and that stuff is expensive, but it's the really nice dark green fluid. It's the good viscous stuff. That's what we want. So what we're gonna do now is set this in here in case I need it, because I'm an idiot. We're gonna drag the cord. Maybe we're gonna drag the cord. Ah, there it is. It's because I had it up top like a smart guy. Sort of. Good grief, what did I do? There we are. All right. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay. We want that out for sure, where we can get to it. I will now hook it up, fire up the pickup. We'll see what this does. All right. Fingers crossed that this doesn't break. I'm gonna put you guys on the tripod. Okay, moment of truth. You guys let me know if something sparks or leaks. There we go. All right, now that we got all the linkage hooked back up, we'll see if it'll do what it's supposed to do. Well, I don't see any leaks. Now let's see if it'll open and close. Okay, do we see any leaks? It's a little wet right there, but it was like that when I put it all together earlier. I don't see anything leaking there. Rollers and everything seem to be okay. It's a little jerky still, but I mean, I changed all the lines plus the cylinder, so there's bound to be some air in there still. I might try and grease these arms, but quite honestly, it doesn't do as much as you might think. But I might try it anyway. Okay, this all seems to look all right, sort of, so far. Okay. These are looking good. No big leaks there. We're probably going to develop some small leaks just because it's old, but that's all right. That probably should be welded. This probably should be welded. I'm not too worried about it right now. We'll just keep it in mind. I don't see anything else big. This side's okay. Everything looks all right over here. So now that that cylinder is fully collapsed and all the fluids out of it, and now that this is all together and all the fluids out of it, we'll double check our level, and then it should be good for a little bit, and I'll just check it periodically until it's fine, and then it should be fine forever. And that's really all there is to it. Fluid level verified. Look who decided to come up and get a drink. And now they want food. But they have plenty of food. Don't let them fool you. Oh, we can just do that. All right, so it took 2.5 gallons. It's not, the reservoir isn't quite as full as it could be, but it's full enough that I think it'll be fine. So about a gallon is what I had in there, and that was enough to run everything. And I mean, there's still air in there. It'll get worked out. I think we're all right. So I'll go ahead and fold this back where it's supposed to be. And yeah, controller's already getting warm. Damn it, which one's load and unload? I think that's unload. Nope, that's unload. Hang on, I gotta back out here and look. There we go. That's load. Yeah, it's special. I probably ought to get some stickers or something and put on here so we know what does what, because I forget. Once I use it for a little while, it's just muscle memory most of the time. Yeah, it's slow, but you know what? It freaking works. Especially works when it gets cold. And you know what? It goes about that fast when it gets cold too, so. All right. Nice and smooth. Hell yeah. I like it. Now, I should be able to enjoy the use of the DewEze without a big puddle of hydraulic fluid on the back of my pickup. Now, of course, if I keep filling this and I'm not paying attention, I'm going to end up getting a bunch of fluid on the back of my pickup anyhow, but that'll be my fault and not the cylinders, which is all that matters. So, all right, I don't know how long this is going to stay on here, but the extra weight is, I can already tell. Oh, backing on my tripod first. I can already tell, just looking at this, because this Bale loader is about 800 pounds, according to the manual. I can tell it's already making this pickup sit a little bit better. I plan on doing a review of the 4,400 pound leaf springs, but I'm just going to give you a spoiler. They're a little overkill, just a little bit. We'll see how this thing rides with the DewEze on the back. It should ride pretty good. All right, and I still don't see any leaks. That's the most important thing. May have to mess with these hoses a bit. They've got a bit of a twist in them. I don't know. I may have to do something with that. But, all right, it's good to go. That's all that matters. I might even put another washer in there just because. You'd be surprised how many of these linch pins have fallen out of this pin. AC still blows cold. That's good. That's really good. That makes me feel really good about myself that I didn't screw that up. It only took me 3 times to get it figured out, the air conditioning. So then when we're all done, we just, oh yeah, ice cold. Carefully get our hands wet and then touch this electrical thing. I'm probably not grounded. All right, and then we just tuck it back in there. Pop that back on. All right, and we're good. And yeah, I always carry extra 3/8 nuts just because. And speaking of hardware, one other thing that sometimes happens with this old DewEze here is that there's these limiting chains which stop it from going out too far, but you got to carry extra bolts on hand, and I only use grade 2. I don't use more than that. And if you extend it out too hard, it'll snap those bolts off. And I've never run the arms out of the housing yet, but that doesn't mean I never will. It's happened before. If it happened to somebody else, it can happen to me. That's how that works. So, that's the DewEze Bale loader. Mounted up, ready for action. Of course, if the weather stays nice like this and the rye keeps growing, we won't have to worry about it. Oh, I guess they all didn't come up here. There's some down there still. It looks kind of brown from here, but it's not bad. That corner there looks a lot better too, so we're doing pretty good on that, and that's good because they like the rye better than the hay, and I like it when they eat rye better than hay. So, okay. I think that'll do it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I've got more interesting videos coming up. We got brakes we're going to fix on the 875 Versatile. We got to go get some parts. It's going to be a whole fun adventure. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. I'm not going to love it because I have to crawl underneath and put everything on. We have to convert to a newer style. So infer from that what you will. But for now, DewEze is on. That's all that matters. And it will move another, I don't know, it'll move a dozen bales. It's not like it's moving 7,000 bales a year or something. So then we'll take it off when it becomes a nuisance. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.